Good morning, investors and traders. If you guys can hear me loud and clear, please do give me a sound check and also a screen check by saying yes or no. If you can hear me loud and clear and you can see my screen, thank you, Amutha. How are you? How's everything progressing? How's your trading going these days? Thank you, Vivian. How's everything with you? Nindhi, Amanda, thank you. Leonard, I hope you are well as well. So how's everyone's trading progressing? Are you guys trading these days Bitcoin? So you can answer that questions in the meantime, and I can do some of the housekeeping, but I am working towards that housekeeping. Please do send me some answers that how you're progressing with in relation to Bitcoin, because obviously our session today is mainly focused on that. Before we do that, a bit about myself. I come with a wealth of 50 years of trading experience. I have worked as a hedge fund trader for Bank of New York Mellon, as an equity trader with Bank of America, currently providing services as a chief analyst for AvaTrade. As always, if we do anything else, it's important for us to go through this brief disclaimer, which is in front of you. If you guys have any questions in relation to that, please in touch with your own account managers to get in. Something that I want to kind of go through in a bit detail is the contact details, which are all questions, which many of you guys and a few, which is AvaTrade, and of course, a video will also be of this particular also. Now, a little technique. Ava the revolution risk trade go protect purchase protection against loss for a defined period after opening a position. If the position ends and you have an open position that is losing, AvaTrade will reimburse the loss directly into the trading account. The only cost is, of course, the AvaProtect fee itself. Now, so let's go back to our question, which we were discussing earlier, which was, so many people are saying not trading frequently. Okay, I don't know why you guys are not trading frequently, because, well, I suppose the important thing really is that when it comes to Bitcoin, yes, you may not want it to trade that actively, but at the same time, there is ample volatility when it comes to Bitcoin, and you can always take advantage of those particular situations. So the other people are saying will trade frequently after settling down. So I think, Amutha, what you mean is probably that once a boundary has been formed, then you'll be more comfortable in that. Perhaps that is what you mean by that, but you can always provide us a little bit more clarity on it. And Leonard is saying, isn't it? Is everyone can hear me perfectly well, or is an echo in my sound? There shouldn't be any echo in my sound. Leonard, it could be just issues on your side because everyone else is saying, no, the sound is crisp and clear. So maybe it's just an issue on your side. Can everyone hear me loud and clear? So Lily is saying to me, she's saying that I haven't started trading yet, not quite sure how to start. Okay, that's a beautiful comment. If you don't know how to start or how to trade Bitcoin, obviously in today's segment we'll be going on that for sure. Guys, let me check my sound 1 second. Okay, how about the sound now? Is it a bit more clear now? Can you guys hear me loud and clear now, or is it still crackling? Because some people are saying, yeah, yes, there was an echo on that one because I've just reset a few things. Yes, okay, all right, great, thank you, cheers. Right, okay, so let's get back to our full screen menu once again over here. All right. Okay, so the first question first, and as always, what I want our guys to answer these questions because a lot of people over here, they have attended these particular webinars before, so they know most of the answers to these questions. So I want those guys to help us to do for that one. So what do you think? Like what's your answer to the first question? What is Bitcoin? How would you really answer that particular question? Okay, perfect. So Amutha is saying that Bitcoin is basically a digital currency. It's classified as a digital currency. And that is what Amutha is really talking about over here, because unlike your fiat currencies where you can hold them in your hand and they are regulated by central banks, Bitcoin is certainly not regulated by any bank, and then there is no physical form of Bitcoin. It is just a code. It exists on the internet in terms of codes, and that's why it is called digital currency. Or just like how we spend our money when we use ATM cards. And the reason that I am going into very much of a basics today is because a lot of people have asked me today that they wanted to go a little bit more in more detail on understanding Bitcoin. So now we have many countries, not only El Salvador, because last week we had a big conference in Miami about Bitcoin, and so several other countries and states and cities, they've also started to legalize Bitcoin as a legal tender, meaning as well as their own national currency, they are also using Bitcoin as a currency as well. And one of the big news in this one really is that from Mexico, what we are really hearing is that there's a possibility of Mexico really making Bitcoin as a legal tender as well. So if Mexico makes Bitcoin as a legal tender and legitimize this very much so, then obviously it's going to have a huge impact in terms of a Bitcoin's demand, and we are more likely to see more upward momentum. So someone earlier said that we're just waiting for the prices to kind of settle down. Probably what they meant is that yes, the current trend in the Bitcoin price is what? Why don't you guys tell me? What's the current trend in the Bitcoin price? Do you think the current trend in the Bitcoin price is to the upside or is it to the downside? It's a very, very easy question, and I want everyone to really sort of dig into this one and then really answer that. What do you think is the current trend in Bitcoin? Do you think Bitcoin is currently moving to the upside? Are we seeing higher highs? Are we seeing more highs in terms of a Bitcoin, or is it completely opposite? What's your opinion of that? So there you go. A lot of people are saying different things. That's why the beauty about the market is because market always have different opinions, right? Because there are different people in the market and they all have a different opinion. And that is what we are hearing from this one as well, because what people are telling me right now in terms of the answers is that some are saying that Bitcoin is trading lower, some people are saying that no, Bitcoin is actually going higher, some are saying it's in a downward trend. So you see, like that's why really it's difficult for us sometimes to really assess what is the current trend of an asset, and then that is what we are going to do. So now what I can share that with you is Bitcoin is definitely in a consolidation zone to a more gradual move to the downside. We are not seeing any momentum to the upside when it comes to Bitcoin prices. because the all-time high of 69,000 was formed a while back, and ever since prices are very much moving to the downside. We have seen more lower lows, but more recently we haven't seen more lower lows. We are just very much moving in the sideways trend, and I'll explain all of that in a bit. Now, what is moving Bitcoin price? Now, the second major important question is over here. So what is moving Bitcoin price? So again, I want you guys to answer that. What are the fundamentals that's really moving prices? Now, we all know that in terms of any other fundamentals, there are two things that very much move price of anything on the earth. One is your demand on the one side, and then the other one is supply on the other side. Now, as for Bitcoin over here, this particular area, which is supply, that is fixed, right? We know that this is fixed. But in terms of demand over here, we know that this is certainly not fixed, and this is unlimited. There is it's only increasing with time. More and more people are very much getting into the Bitcoin space. They wanted to buy Bitcoin. They wanted to increase the exposure to Bitcoin because they have started to believe in that. So the question is coming from Henry, which is, do you think the people report will affect PPI report? I think that's what he probably meant over here, will affect BTC price by 1:30 p.m. So let me elaborate a little bit on that, what Henry is talking about. So yesterday at 1:30 p.m. UK time, we had the inflation data. Now the relationship between central banks and a currency is because whenever they need money, they print more money, right? When they print more money, what happened with inflation really is inflation goes to the upside. And with respect to Bitcoin, we do not have that particular aspect because supply is limited, right? So we have only 21 million Bitcoins, and then that is only going to, or that is all what we're going to have. So no one can print more Bitcoin. In terms of the so that means that Bitcoin by definition is a hedge against inflation, right? So yesterday we had the CPI reading, and we did see that, okay, the US inflation is at 40 years high. So the number went all the way somewhere that we have not seen in nearly 4 decades. That was the number as of yesterday. So that tells us that in terms of a Bitcoin, in terms of a US inflation, because of the US government or the central banks printing more money, inflation has reached a stage which we have not seen in 40 years. Now, of course, that is a very, very important news for Bitcoin, which is by definition is a hedge against inflation. So, naturally you should see a move to the upside. And we did see a move to the upside, but not a remarkable one, because Bitcoin doesn't really have that straight a correlation in relation to that. So I don't want to make things too complicated, but we have another data coming at 1:30 in a 15 minutes time, which is the PPI data. And yes, the answer to that question is that is likely to move the price as well. But overall, what Bitcoin prices are very much moved on, if investors are in a risk on mode, whether they are in a risk off mode, Bitcoin tends to act both ways, sometimes as a risk on and sometimes as a risk off, but more recently it is more about risk off. So when the markets are selling off, we also see the Bitcoin prices also selling off as well, because it's considered as a riskier assets. But in terms of an adoption, more and more companies are adopting, more and more governments are adopting, which is all very positive in terms of the price. And those are the fundamentals that very much move the price of Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin and gold, what's the relationship over here? Now, you may have heard many people saying that Bitcoin is the new digital gold. What do they mean by that? What is gold? So basically, gold is a natural hedge for inflation, and it is a natural hedge for riskier assets. So when riskier assets are going down, what happens with the gold prices, the gold prices move higher because investors take money out of a riskier assets, they put money in gold to protect their portfolio. When inflation is going higher, investors invest in gold prices, right? Now, of course, the same is very much true for Bitcoin prices as well, because for Bitcoin prices, the same. So inflation is certainly over there, but this risk element over here has started to shift or has started to change its narrative a little bit. But overall, the correlation between Bitcoin prices and gold prices have been positive, meaning when gold prices going up, Bitcoin prices also goes up. But more recently, what we have seen is we have seen a reversal of that trend. What we have started to see is that when gold prices are going to the upside, right, Bitcoin prices on the other side, they either stay the same, meaning they continue to consolidate, or they actually tend to move to the downside. So that correlation between these two particular assets, which at the time was very, very strong, has started to break down or has started to show weakness at the very least, we can say, in terms of that. So we are doing quite a lot of different things in relation to that. To our typical webinar that we usually do. So which is quite an interesting one because we are touching some really deep fundamentals today, which we don't. And if you wanted to see a recording of previous webinars, you can always do that. And then I wanted to remind everyone that all the information that we are talking about over here is purely for education and education purposes only. Don't take this one as an advice because I don't know your risk and I cannot advise you. Now, moving on from here, where is Bitcoin heading? Now, what is the perspective? How high Bitcoin price can really go? Now, Kathy Wood, which is a well-known and a renowned investor, she believes that Bitcoin can easily touch the price target of $1 million per Bitcoin by 2030. That is what she believes. She goes, this is very possible in her recent commentary that each Bitcoin can easily reach 2030. Now, the market participants, what they believe in terms of a Bitcoin prices, at least for this particular year, if crypto winter doesn't really show up, or if the current price action doesn't evolve into crypto winter, market participants believe that each Bitcoin price can go all the way to $100,000. Where it is currently trading, it is trading at $40,000. So that means that the Bitcoin prices can easily not only double their value where they are today by the end of this year, but they do have a tendency to move them further above that particular price level as well. So this is what the market participant or the wider community believes in terms of a Bitcoin price. If we don't have a crypto winter this year, then the prices can reach this particular level. And then we have an expert on Wall Street who believe that Bitcoin prices can easily reach to $1 million by each Bitcoin by 2030. So that is where Bitcoin prices are very much heading. And something else which is quite important one to note over here is that, who knows what are your stable coins? Can people tell me over here that how many people actually know what are stable coins? Have you ever heard of a term called a stable coin? Okay, great. So stablecoin is basically a pegged cryptocurrency. So for each one of cryptocurrency, you have a $1 at the back. Like we have several other fiat currencies which are very much pegged to the US dollar. They don't really move that much because they're very much determined by the value of the dollar. They don't have their own value because they are very much backed by the dollar. So under these circumstances, these are also backed by the dollar. Now, I mean, that has been the case so far when it comes to this particular market of stable coins. But more recently, Terra, which also is a project and it has its stable coin, it has began the process of backing its reserve currency with what we called Bitcoin. Not what we called it. It has started to back its reserve currency as a stable coin with Bitcoin now. Of course, they also have fiat currencies as well, but no other stable coin had ever considered to back their stable coins with Bitcoin. And the reason they were doing that, because they were saying that, okay, Bitcoin is way too volatile. Here is a currency which is very much cryptocurrency, which is pegged to the dollar. When you wanted to get out of your Bitcoin, you can still have a digital currency over here, and then you can just easily convert that back into Bitcoin whenever you want, kind of staying away from the dollar. But now these stable projects have started to buy Bitcoin as a reserve currency, and that means, in a very, very simple English, what that means is that the more projects we will see on the market which are buying Bitcoin as a reserve currency, the higher the value of Bitcoin is going to be in the coming days. Does that make sense? Any questions on that before we move on to the next ones, which is defining levels and other coins? I want you guys to be very clear on what we have discussed. All right, great. Remember, you can always ask me, you are always ask me a question. You can always ask me questions, because this is a session where you are allowed to ask questions. So I'll be very happy to answer any question that you have. So never ever hesitate. Never think that these are wrong questions. I don't want to ask them. I don't want to sound stupid or anything. There's no such thing. Remember, I started like you guys, about 15 years ago, and I never hesitated to ask questions. So Bitcoin is becoming more stable. The question is coming. So Bitcoin is becoming more stable. That is correct. And the demand for Bitcoin is increasing, because now these stable coins are buying more Bitcoin and because they are buying more Bitcoin, that means there's more demand for Bitcoin. Because when people start to buy more, begin to buy more of a one thing, obviously the demand continues to increase. The supply, if the supply is limited, you're going to have only so many people holding the Bitcoin. So the price begin to increase with that. That's the relationship between supply and demand. So that's an excellent question, Nindi, about that. All right, now let's get to the actual nitty-gritty part of that, which is defining the levels, and then that's what we kind of wanted to discuss. Now, the chart which is in front of you is obviously the chart from AvaTrade's web trader, AvaTrade Go, and this is the daily chart for Bitcoin, as you can see. And this is the particular trend that we've been kind of talking about, So if we see it from here, what we see is that sorry. So we see this particular, let me change the color of this one as well. So in order to change the color, we just click on it, and then we change the color like this to red, just to show that. And we make the line a little bit more thick in order for us to show. And then you can do so many things. You can show at the end, show the arrow at the end, or at the right hand side, whatever the arrows you want. You can extend them to the left side, you can extend to the right side as well. So I don't kind of really want that to extend it too much. So that's what I'm going to say. So there you go. So now we have an arrow and we have the extension of that particular trend line. So what we're seeing here, what we're really talking about over here is that this is where the original trend was in terms of the price, in terms of the Bitcoin price, right? So it fought its higher high right around this particular price level. And after that, it just continued to move to the downside. Now, what's been going on in here, over here, for since February this year is the prices are not doing very much, are they? Because what we have really over here is, let me just go there. I don't know. I think it's something is wrong with my mouse than anything else. What we have in this particular area, which I have drawn on the chart, is that the prices are not doing very much, are they? Because they are only engaging from between the lows of this particular candle, and I can just increase that a little bit more over here, and then they are bound by this one. Before that, what happened was the prices were trading in this range. So from the low of this candle to the high of this candle, coming back to the low of in around the lows of this particular candle, going back to the highs of this one. And then what we started to see was a quite interesting things over here more recently in terms of the price action. We have this area right here on the chart. Let me just change the color of this one. Can I change the color? Yes, I can. Over here. So over here, what we have is we had the low, and then we had higher low forming over here, and we had another higher low over here. Now the price is very much trading in around that 39,000, and it has crossed below the 30,000. It's coming into another area, which, another area of support. What is that area of support? I can say that area of support is very much is here. I'm going to draw that one over here. So again, come on. Okay, don't do that. It's not nice. So this is the area, and then we will change the color of this particular one. So what color shall we choose? Shall we choose blue? All right. Okay. So what we see over here is that the price is sort of coming into this area over here. Do you guys have? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the question comes like, will you buy? Can someone buy? Now again, this is not an advice or anything. Can someone buy when the prices come into this area? Yes, most certainly, because this is an area where the price, it seems to be have a pretty decent support around this one, around this particular area. So we could see the prices moving sharply back to the upside once we are done from this particular area, right? So we can see that. There's a possibility of it, but there's no guarantee of it. There's no guarantee, but the possibilities are that yes, we could see that. But overall, what we kind of wanted to emphasize, what we wanted to kind of emphasize over here really is that the prices were they are in a downward trend, and then they started to consolidate, and then this is an area of support in terms of the Bitcoin price that we are very much looking at, where the prices could really kind of be going from here onwards. Now, the next question when it comes to this one really is that, let me just get rid of this one. No, actually, we can leave that. Now, the next question which really comes to mind is that what is an area of resistance that we need to really focus on? Because if the prices are coming in here as they are, where can we actually see the prices going next, and then we can call that as a profit or a target area, right? Because if this is that, then where is our target area? Now, because it's resistance, I'm going to mark that as red, over here. So if we are sort of looking to buy it in this particular area of support, then what we kind of wanted to do then is we wanted to see the prices kind of going at least into this area of resistance. So buying somewhere around that 38 to 39,000 sort of a price level, keeping that target of 50,000 gives us very strong sort of a risk to reward ratio, because your risk is really this much while your reward under the current circumstances is more than 2 to 1, because this is literally 5 to 1. I mean, these are the sort of opportunities that one needs to see, one needs to pay attention to. Hence, I like this particular area. And of course, if the price doesn't really come over here, if the price doesn't really work out from this particular price level, then we do have other areas of support as well. You know, we have this particular area of support after that as well, which is right over here, in around that one. Now, if you want me to draw that on the chart, let me get rid of all the writings first of all on the chart. And then if we wanted to draw another area of support, if the market doesn't really come into this area, and then we wanted to see another area, then the next area of support for me is really going to be right over here. This is the area that I wanted to see the price to coming in, and I wanted to consider that as an area of support. I'm going to mark that as green to make that clear, and then we're going to change the color of this one as well, just to keep things same for better understanding. So what we're really looking at in terms of the price, because we have come, you know, the time is pretty much over. So what we're really looking at is we're seeing the Bitcoin prices moving in a sideways direction, one. Number two is what we see is the Bitcoin prices are coming into this support area. That is number two. Number three is that we have another better area of support, which is right over here. That is number three. Number four is that we have our resistance areas coming right over here, right? And then we have all of them marked on the chart, as you can see them. Now this area, the resistance is running from 40,105 to 37,777. This area over here, if you wanted to see what exactly the price levels are, that is running from 40,000 to 37,000, right? And then this one, if you are interested to know that what are the price levels for these ones, then this is running from 34,000 to 32,000 approximately. That's the price sort of running for this one. So keep an eye on these particular price levels, and then see how the price evolves in the next few days or so, or even today, and then we can take it from there. All right, guys, that's all for now. See you guys next time. Thank you very much for attending.